Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. There is a fight coming up later this month that I believe all boxing fans, and especially all gamblers, need to know about. And it's a fight taking place in Poland between two of that country's best boxers. Current reigning cruiserweight champion and really one of the most underrated fighters in all of boxing, Tomasz Adamek, and he is taking on heavyweight Andrew Golota in a heavyweight match that will be taking place in Poland. Now, Adamek, whose only loss is to light heavyweight champion Chad Dawson, and that's a fight where Adamek actually knocked Dawson down. Ademek's only loss was in that light heavyweight title match 2 years ago. Since then, Adamek has gained 20 pounds and has gone on to win the Cruiserweight Championship, and right now is one of boxing's more impressive champions. He's taking on Andrew Golota, who lost his last fight against Ray Austin. Many felt that Andrew Golota quit in that fight. Golota mysteriously early on just stopped fighting and told the referee he could not continue. My recommendation to gamblers, and this may stun some, is to take the greater than 3-1 underdog in the fight, Andrew Golota. I believe Andrew Golota is highly skilled. I believe that his record doesn't fully reflect his capabilities, and I believe that his weaknesses aren't the kind of weaknesses that Tomasz Adamek's style can actually exploit. Let's go through them. Andrew Golota is a very slow starter. He lost by first round knockout to Lennox Lewis. He famously lost an early fight to Mike Tyson, where the referee asked him if he wanted to continue, and Golota said he did not. He lost another match, again early, to Layman Brewster. All of the guys I mentioned are very quick starters when they want to be. Mike Tyson made an entire career of blitzkrieging guys. Layman Brewster, while Layman can be very lethargic in the ring, he actually is one of the quicker-handed heavyweights, and he has power in both hands. Um, uh, I believe that Tomasz Adamek is a different kind of fighter who is a little bit more guarded and a little bit more defensive than Tyson and then Layman Brewster. And I do not see Tomasz Adamek being able to run across the ring in the first round and to physically overwhelm a guy who, if you look at their weights in their last fights, outweighed Tomasz Adamek by more than 40 pounds. Even if Adamek gains weight for the fight, that would be a bit foolhardy because, of course, when you gain weight, that affects your stamina in the fight. Also, people who have tracked Golota's career realize that Golota was winning two fights against Riddick Bowe and got disqualified in both fights for low blows. The feeling is that Golota isn't mentally tough enough for high-level fights. To that, all I can say is if you remember those Riddick Bowe fights, look at both of them. You're going to see Golota against an elite heavyweight completely take away Riddick Bowe's ribcage. Golota was winning both of those fights on my scorecards before he got disqualified in both of them. Since then, Golota has fought other high-profile fights. He fought Mike Mullow, a top 10 contender, and he beat Mike Mullow handily by several rounds. In other words, Golota has, in addition to a heavyweight punch, and he's one of the harder punchers in the heavyweight division, Golota actually has boxing skills where he can outbox top 10 contenders. Golota also famously dropped John Ruiz, who got off the canvas and got a gift decision. But think about it. John Ruiz fought multiple fights with Nikolai Valuev. John Ruiz fought multiple fights with Evander Holyfield. It was Andrew Golota who was able to drop John Ruiz. John Ruiz didn't get dropped by Roy Jones Jr. He got dropped by Andrew Golota. Such is the power that Andrew Golota has. Now, boxing has weight classes for a reason. We recently saw that in a fight we predicted, Floyd Mayweather's dominance over one Manuel Marquez. Here, Tomasz Adamek, he is an elite boxer, but he's an elite boxer in light, heavy, and now cruiserweight. If you're expecting Tomasz Adamek, who weighed under 200 pounds for his last fight, to now, within a span of 2 years, go from the light heavyweight division to actually challenging and beating a 240-pound heavyweight with a punch and with an excellent jab, I believe you're asking for too much. The preferred play here, since you're getting better than 3-to-1 odds, in other words, you bet 100, you win more than 300. The preferred play here is to take Andrew Golota to simply win the fight. If you are nervous about betting on Golota, and if you want to straddle the bet, if you're a more sophisticated gambler, I believe the straddle play here, after you take Golota to win the fight, is to take Tomasz Adamek by knockout. I do not see a scenario where Tomasz Adamek can win this fight by decision. I believe that if the two men are in the ring, Adamek's fights always disintegrate into situations where both fighters have their opportunities. He's not a completely closed defensive fighter. If this fight is a free-for-all and goes into the later rounds, I expect Andrew Golota to start dominating the fight. There is a point where power takes over. Let me also point out, too, that I understand that Golota is greater than 40 years old. Power is the last thing to go. We've seen that with Vitaly Klitschko. We've seen that with George Foreman. As fighters age, they do lose some hand speed. They do lose some reflexes. They do lose some foot speed. But power punchers tend to keep their power into their mid-40s. I believe Andrew Golota still has his power. I believe that power will ultimately carry the day later in the fight. You don't need to take Golota by knockout because you're getting such generous odds, better than 3-to-1 odds, on Golota to simply win the fight. So if you're of the belief, as I am, that Golota will win this fight, you need to make sure that part of your betting choices reflect a pick for Golota to win this fight, with the straddle on the other side being Adamek by knockout. This is simply too much too soon in the heavyweight division for Tomasz Adamek. Sometimes the fighters are the last to know that they are taking on too much more than they can handle. I understand Adamek only wants to fight two guys. Andrew Golota, um, because he is Polish and he wants to assert his supremacy um, in Polish culture over the other great Polish fighter. And the other fighter he wants to fight is Bernard Hopkins because, of course, Hopkins is a future boxing Hall of Famer, and Adamek feels that he is in that class. He may well be, but I believe in this fight, it's simply too risky to take him against a fighter who I have long considered to be underrated and undervalued by the boxing public. Let me also open some eyes here. I believe it'd be a very entertaining and interesting fight style-wise if Andrew Golota were to fight Vitaly Klitschko. We'll talk about that in another video. Let us know your thoughts. Leave messages for us here on YouTube. Also visit our free website, gamblersadvisory.com. Protect yourself at all times and enjoy the fight. Good luck.